The sensation of dying was not the dramatic, fading light I had seen in movies. It was simply the ceasing of biology. It was the moment the blood in my veins turned into sludge. The moment the shivering stopped because my body no longer had the energy to fight. I lay curled in a fetal position against the frosted sliding glass door of the luxury villa, my villa. Outside, the temperature was negative 60 degrees Celsius, a white hell global event. Through the glass, separated by only 2 inches of transparency, was the warmth. I watched the fireplace crackle. The golden glow illuminated the living room, and I could see them. Jack, my husband of 5 years, and Lorraine, his mother. Jack was laughing. He held a skewer of bread dipped in cheese fondue, his face flushed with the heat of the fire and the wine in his belly. Lorraine was knitting on the sofa, a heavy wool blanket draped over her knees, the very blanket I had bought for myself last Christmas. I raised my hand. It looked like a claw. The skin was gray and purple, the nails cracked. I tapped on the glass. It wasn't a knock, it was the faint scratch of a dying insect. I paid for this, I thought, my mind sluggish. I built this company. I bought the food. I had come back from a scavenging run, miraculously carrying a backpack full of frozen canned goods I dug out of a buried convenience store. I had shouted for them to open the door. Jack had looked at me through the glass, his face twisted in a sneer. "You're compromised, Lisa," he said. "You've been outside. We can't risk the contamination." "Jack," I whispered, the sound trapped in my frozen throat. "Besides," I heard him say through the intercom before he cut the line, "the food supplies calculated for 3 people will only last 6 months. For 2 people, it lasts a year. It's just math, honey." The cold finally breached my core. The pain vanished, replaced by a terrifying, dark comfort. My heart stuttered. Once. Twice. Silence. Chapter 2. The Breath of Hell. "No!" I shot up, my body convulsing. I scrambled backward, falling off the bed and hitting the hardwood floor with a painful thud. I curled into a ball, waiting for the biting wind, waiting for the ice crystals to form in my lungs. But the floor was warm. The air smelled of lavender laundry detergent, not ozone and death. I gasped, pulling air into my lungs, hyperventilating until spots danced in my vision. I touched my face. Soft skin. Warm. No frostbite scars. I looked at my hands. My wedding ring sat loosely on my finger, gleaming in the morning sun. Sun. I scrambled to the window and ripped open the curtains. Brutal, beautiful yellow sunlight flooded the room. The cicadas were buzzing. The oak tree outside was green. I turned to the digital clock on the bedside table. July 15th, 2025, 7 a.m. The apocalypse, the 0 point, was September 15th. I had 60 days. Beside me on the bed, the duvet shifted. Jack groaned, shielding his eyes. "Babe, what the hell? Close the curtains, it's too bright." I stared at him. The visual was jarring. In my mind's eye, he was wearing a heavy fur coat, eating cheese while I died. Here he was shirtless, sweating slightly in the summer humidity, looking soft and useless. "Jack?" I asked. He sat up, rubbing his face. "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." I slowly unclenched my fists. A ghost? No, I was something much worse. "I had a nightmare," I said. My voice was rasping, unused to being this warm. "Go back to sleep, Jack." "Make me some coffee," he mumbled, flopping back down. "And Mom's coming over for lunch." "Sure," I said, walking into the bathroom. I'll make you coffee. I locked the bathroom door. I turned on the shower, blasting the cold water, and stood under it, clothes and all. I needed to feel the cold to ground myself, to remind myself that the winter was coming. As the icy water hit my face, I didn't shiver. I smiled. The math had changed. In this life, the supplies wouldn't be for 3 people. They would be for 1. Chapter 3. The liquidation. The hoarding phase required capital, immense, liquid capital. I was wealthy. I owned a Fresh Mart, a chain of 10 mid-sized organic grocery stores, but most of my wealth was tied up in assets and stock. I drove to my office, my mind operating like a supercomputer. In my past life, I had tried to save the business when the panic started. I had tried to help my employees. I had tried to be a good person. Not this time. I called my lawyer, Mr. Henderson, at 8:30 a.m. "Sell Fresh Mart," I said. "Lisa, sell it? To whom? Walmart, Target, or that competitor, Green Life? I don't care. Whoever has cash ready." "Lisa, you'll take a massive loss. You're looking at 60 cents on the dollar." "Do it, Henderson. I want the money in my account in 14 days. Tell them I have a terminal illness and I want to travel the world. Tell them whatever you want." By the end of the week, I had liquid purchasing power of nearly $80 million. I rented a massive logistics warehouse in the industrial district and paid the landlord 3 times to install new locks and to leave me alone. Then I began to shop. Chapter 4. The inventory of survival. Hoarding was an art. I sat in the warehouse office surrounded by 3 laptops, ordering from global wholesalers. I used a shell company, end-of-days prepping solutions, to mask my purchases. For my caloric base, I ordered 100 tons of jasmine rice, vacuum-sealed. Rice was life. I ordered 20 tons of flour, pasta, and freeze-dried potatoes. I bought 5,000 crates of military-grade MREs. Protein was personal. In the freeze, fat and protein kept you warm. I hired refrigerated trucks and went to the wholesale meat markets at 4 a.m. "I want the ribeyes," I told the butcher. "All of them. The porterhouses, too, and the pork belly." "Lady, that's enough meat for a restaurant chain." "It's for a very big party," I lied. I bought 2,000 pounds of beef, 1,000 pounds of pork, 500 whole chickens, and massive quantities of cured meats. I bought 3 industrial deep freezers the size of shipping containers to store it all. Then the technology. I ordered Arctic-grade parkas designed for Antarctic researchers, an industrial diesel generator, and 3 Tesla Powerwalls. I arranged for an illicit delivery of 40,000 liters of diesel fuel, stored in underground tanks I had buried underneath the warehouse floor. I raided online pharmacies for antibiotics, painkillers, and vitamins. I bought 500 cases of vodka, whiskey, and red wine. Vices would be worth more than gold. I spent 10 hours at the warehouse, organizing pallets with a forklift. The sweat dripped down my back in the July heat, but every time I stacked a box of canned peaches, I felt a thrill of safety. Jack called me on day 20. "Lisa, where have you been? You're coming home late every night, and Mom says you look dirty." "I'm working on a surprise," I said, wiping grease from my cheek. "A big surprise." Chapter 5. The Fortress of Solitude. My villa was on a hill, high ground. I needed to turn this glass mansion into a steel bunker. I hired Aegis Security from Switzerland. "I want the windows changed to spacecraft standard," I told the lead engineer. "Triple-paned, vacuum-sealed, with embedded thermal heating wire. It needs to withstand -80 degrees and a sledgehammer." He told me it would cost $15,000 per window. I didn't blink. Do it, and the walls. Strip the insulation and reline them with aerogel. Then reinforce the exterior with titanium steel alloy plating. I tore out the HVAC and installed a geothermal heat pump, drilling 400 feet into the earth. I added a biochemical air scrubber and a bank vault-style front door that weighed 2 tons. For surveillance, I installed 30 8K cameras with thermal imaging, all wired to a control room in my bedroom. I told Jack the construction was for soundproofing my insomnia. He was too busy spending his allowance on golf to care. Finally, I addressed the offense. I want a high-pressure water system, I told the contractor, for fire safety, high-pressure nozzles at all entry points. He nodded. Fire safety. Got it. I smiled. In -60 degrees Celsius, that water wouldn't put out fires. It would be an instant ice cannon. Chapter 6. The Calm Before the Zero. September 10th. 5 days left. I finalized the move, transporting everything from the warehouse to my villa's reinforced basement. My house was now a fully stocked organism. The shelves groaned under the weight of food. My armory was stocked with compound bows, crossbows, and 2 shotguns. September 14th. The heat wave peaked at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The asphalt was melting. Jack was complaining about the AC. This heat is unbearable, Lisa. Why is the house so cold? I like it cold, I said, polishing an apple. Maureen wants to come over. Her AC broke. No, I said. Excuse me? That's my mother. I stood up and handed him a manila folder. And this is a